Now, a decision on when to start the election that will choose the next pope could be made today at the Vatican. It took almost a week to get everyone in place, but all the cardinals who will participate in the conclave have arrived. Danielle Nottingham reports from Vatican City.
The last of the cardinals who will elect the next pope finally arrived Thursday from Vietnam. Police and bodyguards escorted him after the second of two meetings at the Vatican. But even though all 115 voting cardinals are finally together, they have not decided when voting will begin. In a radio interview, Cardinal Timothy Dolan of New York said the additional meetings are helping the cardinals decide who among them is best suited to run the church.
The cardinals said, hey, these aren't bad. They're a great way to get to hear one another and meet each other better. Secondly, a good number of cardinals have asked to speak. So I think the cardinal dean said, well, we better add some hours.
Dolan is among the American cardinals getting a lot of attention here at the Vatican. A pope from the United States is no longer considered an impossibility.
The cardinals, 115 of them will be voting, are extremely impressed by the cardinals of the United States. I think you should keep a watch on the American cardinals.
Vatican workers continued to transform the Sistine Chapel into a papal polling place. They covered the chapel windows so no one can look inside. A raised wooden floor was constructed to make it level with the altar and to protect the chapel's mosaic tiling. Two stoves were installed, one to burn ballots and the other to send up smoke, indicating when a vote has taken place. Catholics around the world are anxiously waiting for that process to begin. Danielle Nottingham, CBS News, Vatican City.
Joining us is Father James Martin, contributing editor for America Magazine. Father Martin, thanks for coming this morning.
My pleasure.
So tell me, I was kind of surprised that it has taken this long just to get everybody to Rome. Are you surprised that it's taking this long to get down to the conclave business?
A little bit. I mean, it was surprising that since some of the cardinals knew for 2 weeks that the Pope was resigning, that they didn't change their schedules, but there's always things that come up. The meetings themselves, though, it's not surprising it's taking long. They have to get to know one another before they start the voting.
And the talk, you know, when Benedict XVI resigned was, we got to get this done in time for Holy Week, which is at the end of the month. Does that seem like a possibility?
It does. I'm hearing that the conclave may start as early as Monday, maybe March 15th. You figure a couple days and they have plenty of time for Holy Week. But as they said, they don't want to rush it. It's the most important thing that the cardinals do in their lives.
Yeah, 115 cardinals. I presume they don't all know each other closely. Anyone could really theoretically be in the running to be pope, and so they have to get to know each other. What are they talking about during this time? I presume, you know, part of it is what type of person should be pope and trying to craft that kind of character. But what else is going on?
That's exactly right. They're talking about what kind of person should be pope. They're looking at people they might not know and saying that guy looks pretty interesting. He's very holy. He's very prayerful. He's very charismatic. Right. But also, what are the problems facing the universal church? And say people from the southern hemisphere and developing world are going to have different perspectives than people from the Europe and from the West. So it's what do we need the new pope not only to be, but to do? Mm-hmm.
We've been having these, the U.S. contingent has been having these daily briefings. That's been shut down now. There's been a media blackout, though I don't know how well it's working because from what I gather, the Italian media is getting a lot of information, leaks about what these discussions are all about. Why the blackout? Are they trying to control the message in some way?
Well, what happened was the Italian media started to report things that were apparently happening in these private meetings with the cardinals, and I think naturally the cardinals, in a sense, want to be able to speak freely about who they like and who they don't like, what the issues are, without it appearing, you know, on the front page of the Italian newspaper. Right. So they said no more, which is frustrating for people who want to keep up, but not surprising.
Yeah, is this sort of an old church versus new church mentality about privacy? You know, it was the Americans that were having these daily briefings for the press, and their idea was, we got to talk. We just, you know, privacy, secrecy doesn't work in this modern day and age, but there's a tradition of privacy.
I think you're absolutely right. And the Americans, the Vatican correspondent, Father Lombardi, said the Americans were the only ones that came prepared to do this, you know, to hold briefings, and they're used to that. Other parts of the world, they don't do that. But I think it was not only the modern versus ancient, but also this idea of we want to be able to speak privately, and so let's not do any more of the briefings. It is frustrating, though.
As we move forward, do you think maybe there might be more transparency in this process just because of the way the world is sort of changing?
I think maybe in the next conclave, but in this conclave, that's it. They're done with their briefings, and certainly during the conclave itself, you're not going to hear any of the Cardinals talk about anything. They're actually locked behind closed doors, so we won't know until we see the white smoke or the black smoke what they've decided.
All right. Well, Father James Martin, contributing editor for American Magazine, thanks for joining us this morning.
My pleasure.